Kingdoms rich in ancient grandeur, halls carved into the roots of mountains, the echoing of picks and hammers in deep mines and blazing forges, a commitment to clan and tradition, and a burning hatred of goblins and orcs. These common threads unite all dwarves. That is the description of dwarves from the Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook. The classic game of Dungeons & Dragons is played by many and is easily one of the most popular role-playing games of all time. A fantasy world where you could be anyone, do anything, all in the comfort of your own home and a sheet of paper. What you need to play is your imagination and a character sheet, with one of the most important aspects being what fantastical race you choose to be. With many different options, it can be hard to choose, but to me, it's obvious because dwarves are the best race in Dungeons & Dragons. They are versatile, fun, and accessible to everyone, making them ideal for any adventure. Them being versatile means that they can be fit into any playstyle the player wants to choose, whether it is a fighter who's in melee range constantly attacking, or a spellcaster who stays at a distance and helps out their teammates. Dwarves can be used and put in any situation like that. Looking at their stats, they have an increase in strength and constitution right off the bat. That might not mean much for a lot of people, but the increase in strength allows them to hit more and hit harder, while the increase in constitution allows them to resist certain types of magic, produce their own, or have an increase in HP. Dwarves also have poison resistance innate to them. This gives them a little bit more character, as the poison resistance comes from the years and years of drinking down in the mines. They have a tolerance to that kind of poison, which is great in the middle of combat, or even in just situational settings outside of combat. Dwarves also have dark vision, which, to be fair, is very common in other races, but it's important that dwarves have it because it ties into where they come from the mines where there is little light. This also means there is no need for torches for dwarves because they can see in the dark anyways. Now, all of these abilities that come with dwarves are very easy and accessible to many people to use. They aren't very complicated with paragraphs and paragraphs explaining what to do and how to do with them. But they also allow you to do anything. You can be a spellcaster, a melee tank, a ranger, or anything in between because you're good at everything. That being said, role-playing dwarves are also wonderful. They're accessible to everyone. With the abilities and the ability stuff you get with your race, the character itself that you choose can be as deep as you want. You can add lore and stories that allows you to forge bonds from the past or burn bridges. But on the other hand, they can be as simple as you want. If you want a lighthearted game, they're not a very complicated personality. You can be a very greedy short guy and have a blast doing so. With that, the innate imperialism that comes from dwarves leads to very easy character development in a long-run campaign, where if you start off hesitant of your allies and companions, you can slowly warm up to them and trust them more. All the things I've said booster the dwarves and why you should play them, but that doesn't make them better than the rest. However, I believe that every other race has a very large downside that you need to consider before choosing them. Starting with elves, they're really good. They live thousands of years up in the trees. They have expert training through those hundreds of years, and they live the high life with no struggle. They're very in tune with magic and nature. What is a character if not the struggle it takes to obtain these skills? To do things, you need struggle. Elves having not as much struggle leads to, in my opinion, weaker characters overall. They're good at a lot, but that they don't need to be. Humans happen to be the most prominent race in any fantasy setting ever. This is for a good reason. We are human. And humans tend to be very one-dimensional in all these settings. They breed like rabbits. They have a lust for power that is unlike anything else. They are very basic, with very little flair that you can add. Orcs are very brutish, very strong. They're also very stupid and not very magically inclined. So these are very good if you want to be a fighter or a barbarian, but if you choose to be a wizard or a warlock, which you definitely can choose to be, you're just letting yourself down with stats that don't line up with what you want. Tieflings are very cool on concept. They are a child of a demon and a human, which allows you to get really cool racial abilities that intertwine with demons. But then that also comes with a physical change, and civilizations in the universe aren't very kind to tieflings. So if you want to be not hiding constantly from fear of persecution from everyone, choosing another race is probably a more wise option. Dragonborns are also really cool, but follow a similar fate, although they also include a breath attack from their dragon part, which is pretty cool. However, it is fairly complicated to use, and it just is another layer of things you need to consider in battle, which isn't friendly to many new people. So there are many awesome fantasy races in Dungeons & Dragons, from a basic human, a tough orc, a dexterous tabaxi, or a lucky halfling, but they all fall before the mighty, sturdy, and not so humble dwarf. If you're new to playing or a diehard veteran, dwarves make for a good time every time. Thank you.